So in this Lee crew, all 4 of these girls rode in the GB8 at the GB France match in 2017, and 2 of them in 2018 as well. And the bow pair actually won women's pair gold at the British Rowing Junior Championships last year. So really, really strong 4 athletes who know each other well, that have been competing in this outfit pretty much all year. And now here at Henley Women's Regatta, the pinnacle of junior rowing, to see what they can do. But you can see, Izzy, their steering leaves a little to be desired.
Yeah, that drone footage there just shows quite how close they were next to each other. I think umpire was waving his flag, still waving his flag for Lee to move over. Of course, although they are taking a slight lead at the moment, this will be adding distance to their course, which will of course be making them a bit more tired than they need to be. It's obviously more desirable to steer a straight line and makes the race far easier.
Yeah, not much to choose between these 2 crews at this stage. Lee trying their very best to stretch away from the Scots, but having little success of that so far. There still is only around a third of a length between the 2 crews. A bit of wash encountered there by Lee as they tried to lever their shell through the water. And they're moving back out into the middle of the river again, in real danger of aggravating the umpire at this stage. Looks like there's a bit more horsepower on board in the Scottish contingent.
Just on that drone footage there, you can see Lee again moving into the middle of the river. Ooh, coming quite close there to the Scottish composite crew. Umpire's got his flag out, telling Lee to move to the side.
Yeah, playing a dangerous game here, Lee, because they have not got enough of an advantage to really justify rowing down the middle of the course. And actually, if this race continues to be as tight as it is, and the Scots end up on the receiving end of a margin that they aren't happy with, they have every right probably to put their hands in the air and say, look, we feel we were impeded. But at the moment, Lee leading by about a half a length and straining to move ahead. So that one's moving on up the course. We'll keep one eye on that. Race 191, but 192 underway. Gloucester Hartbury on the Berkshire station and York City Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station. Now, we've seen a couple of Gloucester Hartbury crews in action already today, one in the aspirational quads category, and I would hazard a guess that perhaps this is the Gloucester Hartbury B crew. That's not confirmed, I'm not sure at this stage. But the A crew that we saw earlier, or the crew that we saw in the aspirational quads event earlier, really dismantled their opposition with unerring authority. So it'll be interesting to see how York City match up against the might of the Gloucester rowing programme. At this stage, Izzy, it looks like Gloucester have taken the early advantage.
It does, yeah. Gloucester are generally a very strong crew. Quite interesting because they haven't been a boat club for as long as pretty much any other club here. They're very new but extremely strong. I think if anybody ever goes to indoor championships for where there's the ergos, Gloucester Hartbury are coming away with first places in nearly all categories. They're a force to be
reckoned with, I suppose.
That's the word I'm looking for.
A powerhouse on the junior rowing circuit. Just watching on the top right hand side of your screen, you can see Lee winding it up to fend off the ever increasing advances of the Scottish composite from Clydesdale, George Watson's and Loch Lomond. There might well be another club in there, but we don't actually have the detail of that. Just trying to work out what the other club is. In any case, it is a Scottish composite, and they are winding the race up, jacking it up to try and get back on level terms with Lee as those 2 crews wind their way down the line. That's our final camera angle, so keep your eyes on that. But at the moment, Gloucester Hartbury in relative control of this race 192. They're about a length up on York City. There we go, Lee and the Scots. Look at that, Izzy, winding it right up. Looks like Lee perhaps just about have the advantage, but it's so hard to tell actually as the 2 crews come up towards the line. I think it's just Lee's race there.
Yeah, definitely that last camera angle just showing it.
A brilliant contest. And Lee progress, provided of course that there isn't any complaints. Just seeing if the umpire does raise her white flag. In any case, Gloucester Hartbury making their way down the course. They look like they're starting to stretch out a little bit. enjoying their scull in the Henley afternoon sunshine. And there we go, Izzy. We can see now they were about a length up when they passed us, and they've now probably got 2, maybe 1.5 lengths of clear water.
Yeah, you can see as they've gained more and more clear water, their rates just started to slow a little bit and relax more into the stroke than they were at the beginning, but still pushing it through.
Oh, and we've had a bit of a shipwreck there in race 193 just off the start. Hinksey with their blades all over the gaff. Headington able to capitalise on that and move away from their opposition. Hinksey there at the foreground of your shot on the Berkshire station up against Headington School, who look like they've also had a bit of a shipwreck. A bit of a calamity there for both crews actually out the start. Headington quickly recovered though, perhaps a little quicker than Hinksey did, and now both crews need to focus in on what they're doing and try and recover, because that was a nightmare start from both.
Yeah, not what you want to be seeing at Henley Women's on your races when you're looking to get to the finals.
Headington, of course, need no introduction in the junior women's circuit. Decade of dominance under Ryan Domain and his coaching team there. Struggled a little bit in the 8s over the last couple of years, falling 2 defeats against Henley last year and, of course, Lady Eleanor Hollies in 2019. But in the quads, they're always strong, and I'll have one eye firmly focused now on the Diamond Jubilee Challenge Cup at Henley Royal. But if they can navigate Henley Women successfully and add some silverware to their cabinet, I'm sure they'll be delighted. And at the moment, leading this one against Hinksey Sculling School. So we can see there the split screen, Gloucester, Hartbury enjoying their scull down the course now, looking really, really together, really powerful, impressive unit as always from that Specialist Sporting Academy. No fear of them being overhauled, and Headington and Hinksey have just come sculling past us at the barrier, and Headington now have around 2 lengths advantage. You can see their Gloucester just winding down, safely securing passage through to this will be the quarterfinals, I suppose. It's always great to see actually these schoolgirl crews who transition from rowing in a big 8 all year to coming in and trying to scull at the business end of the season. It's 2 very different skill sets, and to see them master both so successfully is always impressive, but expect nothing less from Headington and the infrastructure they've got in place. So a reminder of what we've got coming up. This is the 4th heat of the junior quads. Up next, championship singles, starting with race 194, which is a contest between Bath University on the Berkshire station, Mulholland, and Nottingham Rowing Club Campbell Ord on the Buckinghamshire station. So on our screens now, watching Headington make their way down the course. Bit of a shipwreck from both Headington and Hinksey in the opening stages, but both crews recovered to successfully, hopefully, complete their contest in the junior quads. Delighted to be joined now by Fergus Mainland, who spent all day sunbathing on a launch somewhere up and down the river. Fergus, how's it feel to be inside for the first time in 3 days?
Well, it is quite good to be back inside. I think the back of my neck is starting to pink up slightly, so a good relief to be in from the sun, but always a pleasure to be out on the launches.
You enjoyed your first taste of commentary at Henley Women's Regatta?
Yeah, it's been a great first experience. Out on the launches, best seat in the house standing on the back of those beautiful launches, but always good to get the bird's eye view from up here in the commentary box.
Yeah, we do have good seats. They come sculling or rowing right past us, underneath us. We can hear the calls in the boat and we can hear the cheers of the crowds on the bank, and we can watch them all the way down the course. And there we go, we can see Headington just winding down, crossing the line, successfully securing passage through to the quarterfinals of the junior quads. And so we move on without further ado to race 194, Bath University up against Nottingham Rowing Club. So the Bath University sculler, Mulholland, placed 4th at the Metropolitan Regatta this year in women's single sculls tier 2. Just seeing if I've got any information on the Nottingham sculler. She placed 2nd in challenge singles at Wallingford Regatta, and at the Met placed 5th in women's championship singles. So it'd be interesting to see how those domestic results bear out on the Henley course. Of course, in a single on the Henley Reach, 1500 metres, anything can happen. We've seen that a couple of times already today.
Yes, we have. It's going to be quite the contest for these single scullers, and of course making the transition from the 6-lane racing down to the side-by-side more gladiatorial style of racing. Yeah, anything can happen, and of course, as we know, in a single scull you can make up a length in just a matter of strokes, really.
Yeah, I might have mentioned it already. Drysdale and Borch at Henley last year. I think that's actually the 5th time I brought it up this weekend.
Well, but it is a cracking race, that one.
Has to be brought up.
Up.
Off the start successfully, race 194, Bath on, well, I suppose that's the left hand side of your screen from the overhead shot, and Nottingham on the right, just hidden underneath those overhanging foliage of Temple Island.
Yes, it is a cracking drone shot we have of these two scullers. We can just see them starting to creep together in the middle of the screen as they reach the end of Temple Island. But from my eyes up here, it looks to be bow ball for bow ball in the first few hundred metres of this race.
Yeah, really well matched, and I suppose at this stage it's just a case of keeping calm and staying with your eyes in the boat, because actually you don't want to be fazed by the fact that your opposition is right up next to you. Ideally you want to be 3 lengths up by this stage, but you know, I think when it comes to this stage of competition, quarter-finals, it's not the case. This is the Saturday of Henley Women's Regatta. These are some of the best scullers and rowers in the country, so you're going to be evenly matched, and that drone shot bearing that out here. Nothing to choose between the two scullers.
Yes, these two scullers in the championship single event racing for the George Innes Cup, kindly sponsored by Scott Investment Partners.
We had a chap on yesterday who talked at length about Scott Investment Partners, and I thought there was some sort of commission going on there, but apparently he rows in a pair with him. So that was I learned everything I need to know about Scott Investment Partners in about 30 seconds. But a kind sponsor of the regatta, and we do thank everybody who gets involved, both volunteers and sponsors, to put on what has become the premier women's rowing event globally. You can see here from the support on the bank and the quality of the scullers that are passing us now that it really is going from strength to strength every year. And you know what, the narrative of this one hasn't changed at all, Fergus. They're still neck and neck.
No, very much so. They've just come past us in the commentary caravan, and it is, by my eyes, potentially the Bath sculler up by no more than half a length, but all to play for as we head towards the barrier and the regatta enclosure. Yes, these two scullers will look to build on the roar that they will hear as they start to pass the regatta enclosure and the boating racks. Clubmates, friends and families spurring them on in this heat of the championship single sculls.
Speaking of which, race 195 underway. We'll keep one eye on the fascinating contest that's developing in race 194. But 195, another heat of the it's actually quarter-final of the championship single sculls. Tideway Sculler School, Walters on the Berkshire station, and Grosvenor Archer on the Buckinghamshire station. And this one, slightly different narrative actually. It looks like the Scullers School athlete has reached her stride a little bit quicker than the Grosvenor athlete, and she's established a bit of a lead, leaving the shadows of Temple Island. Just see there the quarter-mile mark on the left-hand side of your screen in shot.
Yes, that is just the start you want to look for in the single scull. Get a couple of lengths up on your opposition early, and then you can just almost sit back and relax, but obviously not getting too comfortable.
Yep, dangerous words. That's what Borch did, and what happened to him, Fergus?
We got rode down by Mahi.
Drysdale overtook him. The classic. But we'll keep one eye on what's happening. So we can see on the top right hand side of your screen, Nottingham in race 194 has now rode through Mulholland of Bath University. Really strong second half from her. I think the crews were finally poised approaching the halfway mark, but a big second half surge from Campbell Ord of Nottingham Rowing Club, and she's now taken the lead and control of that quarter-final.
Yes, that was a very decisive move from the Nottingham Sculler, making a big move there in the second half of the race. And of course, it's always talked about sort of the middle third of the race being the most important third of the race here at Henley Regatta, Henley Women's Regatta.
Yeah, I think that bears out actually, Fergus. I've seen a couple of races which have been neck and neck approaching the barrier, and then the camera angle changes and the crews reach that sort of equivalent point, and there's a 2 lengths between them. So for whatever reason, crews seem to gun it to the barrier, and then quite often one crew just has that extra gear, has that sort of extra horsepower on board that just seems to push them forward. But you can see here we've got a tale of 2 different rowing narratives. One, an exceptionally close race on the top right hand side of your screen that's been neck and neck all the way down, nip and tuck, Nottingham and Bath. It looks like Nottingham will come out on top. And the other, Walters of Tideway Scullers School in complete control of her quarter-final. She is several lengths clear of Archer of Grosvenor and enjoying her Saturday afternoon scull down the Henley Women's Regatta course.
Yeah, she's looking very long, loose and relaxed. She makes her way down the course. And at this stage, don't want to call it too early, but she looks set to take this quarter-final of the championship women's single scull.
We haven't had confirmation, but that did look like a win for Campbell Ord of Nottingham. And so, whilst Tideway Scullers Walters continues her row down, we can move back up to the start, the quarter-final. Championship Single Sculls 196, Fairmount Rowing Association USA, McFettridge up against Abigail Parker, President of Cambridge University Boat Club 2019. On the Buckinghamshire station, Abigail swapping 1 blade for 2. Let's see how she fares up against the might of an overseas competitor, who actually I watched yesterday and looked really, really strong. So it'll be very interesting to see there on the right hand side of your shot how McFettridge of Fairmount fares against the best that Brits have to offer.
Yes, the first challenge, of course, for these scullers is to navigate the swans and the Canada geese as they get to the end of Temple Island. But it looks to be another cracking race lining up in this heat of the championship single scull.
Yeah, interesting that Abigail, I don't know the reasoning behind it, but interesting that she's chosen to scull at this event. She rode in Blondie this year, so didn't make the cut for the Blue Boat itself, but Blondie, with the squad that CU WBC have, is no mean feat in and of itself. So, capable, proficient athlete. At the moment, being led by McFettridge of Fairmount Rowing Association, who will be in no mindset to go home on the Saturday. She's made the trip across the pond. She'll want to be here fighting for silverware right until the last.
Yeah, she is one of many American crews making the trip over to Henley, and it's always great to see so many of them and other international crews making the trip to the famous white boomed course. And yes, as they approach our commentary position, It is McFetridge of Fairmount Rowing Association leading this heat of the championship single scull.
And looking relaxed, it has to be said, very composed, nice and fluid around both ends of the stroke. There's no drama there. I don't see anything that's sort of upsetting aesthetically in terms of her style, in terms of her fluidity, the way she's propelling the boat forward. She's just levering it on out front, and she's got nice long strokes. And it looks like she's slightly underrating her opposition from Cambridge, which will be a good thing for her further down the course.
Yeah, absolutely. She's sitting just about a length up on Parker from Cambridge University, and yeah, a couple of pips lower on the rating will definitely help, giving her a few extra gears to go to as they get further down the course, should she need to wind at the finish.
Great to see tight racing though. Although the Walters of the Tideway Sculler School did dismantle her opposition reasonably confidently. Campbell Ord of Nottingham only just saw off the interests of Bath University, and here McFetridge of Fairmount Rowing Association not able to shake off Abigail Parker from Cambridge. She's just about probably got clear water by only 6 inches of it, and that in a single scull, as you know, Fergus, is not enough.
Well, particularly in matched racing, it's very important to try and break free and look for as much clear water as possible. We can just see Abigail Parker there, just holding on. She's just within striking distance of McFetridge from America. So the American sculler will look to try and push on even further as they get further down the course.
Yeah, we'll keep one eye on that one. We can see now race 197 underway. Sarasota crew of the United States of America, Cooper on the Berkshire station, and Elo Lewick of Molesey Boat Club, formerly of Oxford, on the Buckinghamshire station. She was actually the first Estonian ever to row in the boat race and a president on one year. I can't remember when it was, 2017 or 2016. So a capable athlete in and of herself, and at the moment she is taking this race by the scruff of the neck and has strode out, and looks like has already opened up a couple of lengths of margin, and it's hard to tell from that deceptive camera angle and Fergus's favourite animal, the Canadian geese, in the way, but she's navigated that successfully.
Yes, it's been an outstanding start for the Molesey Sculler. Clearly looking to break her opponent early on. Really just sit back and relax as she gets further down the course. But she's not done yet. She hasn't dropped down onto her race rhythm. So yes, the Molesey Sculler, the local sculler, really trying to put as much distance as possible between the two of them as we go through the quarter-mile mark.
So on my little paperwork here, it does say Molesey Boat Club, Elo Lewick is the athlete, but on my computer screen it's telling me that it's Molesey Boat Club A, which isn't listed as Elo. So I'm not sure if it is her or not. It looks like her from what I know, but either way, this Molesey Sculler performing really, really well, and the rate is still really high, it has to be said. She's not stepped off the gas at all, making sure she puts as much distance between herself and her opposition as she possibly can as she comes down towards the barrier.
Yes, it's been a tough opening few hundred metres for the rower from Sarasota in Florida. She's just got to keep her head on her shoulders, really focus in for the next few hundred metres of this race if she wants to pull back into contention for this heat of the championship single scull.
Yeah, it looks like there's quite a lot of distance between the two scullers now. Really strong opening half from the Molesey Boat Club athlete, making a very good account of herself. Coming into the enclosures, she's likely to get quite a lot of support from the banks. I'm sure there's a lot of home crowd partisanship. Still, I have to be honest, she looks just a little bit short. The stroke rate's quite high. The Doesn't necessarily look as fluid as it could be, but it's obviously working. It's obviously producing good speed. We'll keep one eye on how that Molesey Boat Club athlete continues her push or her sort of race plan. But move back to the start, race 198, returning to the junior quads. It's tied away Scullers School on the Berkshire station and Latimer Upper School B on the Buckinghamshire station. Two junior crews who will know a lot about each other, have competed throughout the year. Two real bastions of the junior rowing circuit. And Latimer getting very close to those booms indeed. Very close. Oh, and close to the geese as well.
Got to watch out for those geese. But yes, despite being a B crew, don't write off this crew from Latimer Upper. Last year they qualified numerous crews into the Diamond Jubilee Challenge Cup, so are very much used to the sculling scene. But of course... Oh, we've stopped racing.
We have indeed. Not quite sure why that's happened. Latimer were in very intimate familiarity with some geese. I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it, but the umpire has stopped the race. Both crews now stationary on the course, although it looks like Scullers are sculling away. Not quite sure what's happened here. Apologise for lack of clarity on our part, but you can see Molesey Boat Club in race 197 just coming up towards the line. I think comfortably ahead of the athlete from Sarasota crew of the United States of America. Should secure passage through to the next round of the championship single sculls, which will be the semi-finals.
Yes, if we just look back to race 198, we can now see both crews are now paddling back towards the boating and the finish area. So we'll bring you information on that when we can.
Yeah, it's either the most sedate race I've ever seen, or the race has been abandoned. I would probably opt for the latter.
Yes.
Neither crew's looking like they're in any particular rush. Just sculling down the course here.
Yeah, that's my kind of racing, that one. Just
yeah, it looks lovely.
Nice low rating. A good agreement between the two crews not to try too hard.
Well, quite sure what's happened there. Passing us at the barrier. It'll be interesting to see if they spin and turn and come back, because it doesn't look like there's any mechanical failings on either of the boats. Nothing wrong with either of the athletes, unless... And actually, the Tideway Scullers are doing technical exercises on the course, so quite what that means, I'm not sure. But Molesey Boat Club successfully navigating their way through 197. On my sheet it says Hello Lewick, making her way through to the semi-finals of the championship single sculls. And it does look like...
Looks like we're going to turn around and go back to the start.
Yeah, those quads are turning. So I'm not quite sure what happened. It might have been the geese.